Good evening, my melancholy Melanorosaurus. First, I would like to apologize for missing a week. I had nothing to talk about, and I'm feeling bummed about the game. This is the least interested I've been in Zenless Zone Zero since it launched. I feel 2.0 alienated day one players, and I hope 2.1 will resolve some of the frustrations that we're feeling, and if we're lucky, some of the bugs that should have been fixed already. This evening, I would like to make my own fun and share more of my process to cook up these theories. I had a blast researching these topics, and it led me to an interesting conclusion. And we get to talk about our faves again. I showed you the sword in the Marcel files in my last video, but I had no clue if it was misdirection or connected to the prophecy subplot, just it was there and it meant something. I went through all my recordings of the Marcel mazes and I spent a lot of time looking at the Marcel files. I couldn't find a shield or armor in any of the castles in any Marcel files stage. So maybe it is misdirection. There was only a sword, so it could be one of the possessed swords or it could be unrelated to either. I couldn't find any new lore for Marcel Group either, but we know multiple companies use the Marcel Group logo because it's a business conglomerate. Asterism Industries is an example of this. We know that they are deeply connected to the space exploration of the old civilization from seeing their advertisements around the Lemnian Hollow, but we knew that already. After Sunbringer invented the Bangbu, Marcel Group started manufacturing them. Now, they have this whole training program and ecosystem for the Bangbu. Once we're in the event, we generally don't see people characters, but there have been some events outside the Marcel display thing. When the devs got rid of TV mode, we got Marcel Maze, which is just a maze. But the Marcel Files looks like a castle, and it looks like a castle made of building blocks. We have a soft confirmation about the prophecy mission and subplot being connected to the sword in the Marcel Files, but nothing super guaranteed yet. We see an enchanted sword inside the enchanted castle. After this game existing for a year, we know this must be foreshadowing. Again, it could be misdirection, but trying to figure out what it meant led me down a Bangbu hole. Okay, so looking for any other mentions of castles in the game led to Astra's encounter in the abandoned park in Lumina Square. Okay, so this whole thing is too eerie to ignore. She also calls Phaethon the strongest archmage in Hustle City. Come on the magic arc? Then, the Sword of the Brave will protect the evil queen? I don't think the devs suddenly incorporated subtlety into their foreshadowing techniques, so I'm going to take this as we've been told to take it. If there is a sword in a castle, it could be the Sword of the Brave, and we know it probably exists because the urban legends are generally true in New Eridu. And adding the context of Astra's love of Bangbu, the sword in the Marcel Files could be the real holy sword, or it could be the Sword of the Brave, or what I think it is, most likely the same sword with two different names. And this one has to be real, the Quixie event and weekly missions confirm this. So I started searching the prophecy mission for connections to the Marcel Files. I mean, the first line, send your companions away, only Bangbu can take part in this journey. Yeah, okay, yeah, that's connected, 100%. Oh, my glasses are on my face moment, okay? Then the journey is broken into two parts which mirror the structure of Don Quixote. We also see it play out like a theatrical performance because we can't use the agents. The ethereals are being played by Bangbu, and the proxy handbook has them labeled as direwolves, and we do not know if it's important or not yet. It could be, might not be. We don't know. But we do know that Quixie is vital to this analysis. We all know he's inspired by Don Quixote, and the writers are most likely going to pick a different piece of literature for the main story arc inspiration, but it will have to go back to this. Miguel de Cervantes wrote Don Quixote in two parts. The first is a discussion on pastoral novels, the humors, and the chivalric zeitgeist of the time. A group of collaborators wrote a fake second book as a way to shit on Cervantes, and in response, the second half of the book breaks the fourth wall and Cervantes transforms into a petty bee. There's an undeniable connection between the prophecy mission and the Quixie stuff. I mean, the first half of the prophecy mission requires Eos to go around and have all these vignettes with the vices and virtues. In the second half, the prophet low-key breaks the fourth wall and it evolves into a meta-commentary on what's happening in New Eridu. If you would like a separate deep dive on this, I can do that, but I know my audience is intelligent and capable. That would be like saddling an ag and finding a squire. I'm not that delusional, but I'll do whatever makes you guys happy, because honestly, I'm so happy to do these videos. They're so much fun. This all leads into the hero's journey and the unrelenting coincidences. I mean, how can all of this not be connected? So when I was looking for clues about the prophecy subplot, I noticed these two Hollow Rizonia are also definitely connected. Thank you, Rusty Cliff. So the Hollow Toy Castle says, yes, it's made of building blocks, but you can recognize how impressive it is. It would be nice to live there. Every 10 pressure increases all squad members' attack damage by 2.5%. A castle made of building blocks, you say? Sounds like the Marcel Files castle. And then we have the sword catalog, a photo album with the famous swords. The name of each sword's owner is written thoughtfully on the back of each photo. Every 10 pressure reduces all squad members' damage taken by attacks by 1.5%. It's too many coincidences. I think it's more likely that it is high quality writing and it's coming full circle. We also know about like the whole Bible inspiration and like the Christianity Catholicism arc. So that also goes into the sword thing. Okay, so this is so on the nose, it kind of hurts. The Flaming Sword of Genesis is the first sword in the Bible. And, well, I guess first important sacred sword in the Bible. The first sword we see, like sacred, enchanted, possessed demon sword, is Miyabi's. And if I'm not mistaken, there's flames coming out of that thing. Okay, so definitely confirmed right off the bat that this is probably important. And then the next one is actually the next 4. It's called the Sword of the Angel, and it's to protect the Tree of Life. Yeah, okay, so we also have to mention that, like, yeah, the context of the imaginary tree being in the game, like, we see it. There's pictures of it all over the game. The next one is the Builder's Sword, and if we're going to connect them to the different Void Hunters, this would be for Colonel Vike. Nice. But then the next one, I think, is probably the most blatant. It's a quote from Jesus, so it's a proverbial sword, and it says, "Think not I come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword." Okay, that would connect with the leader of the Falconane mercenary troop. The one with the pink hair. Pink Jesus. The Alessia XP. Gets a quote from Jesus as part of their inspiration. Come on. Like, it is this. Like, confirmed. This confirms it. Like, that's it. So then that means the Sword of the Spirit is going to go back to Professor Archie and the creator. They are all symbolic, but we see throughout the game that these possessed demon swords are also symbolic, and they hold a hive mind like lineage for a family. Like, that's crazy. We also see it in history with the Mayflower, my Mayflower prediction, that it's going to be the Carver's sword. And with the Apkulu and the first group of the 7 sages, like, oh my god, come on. It's all connected. And now that we can prove that it's all connected, I have to share my theory. I've been cooking it up, and it's a little unexpected. We know we are supposed to be on the Ark with Sunbringer and her descendant because the lore teaser gave us a roadmap for the OG Void Hunters' involvement in the story. When I looked at how the writers used literature in the past, I had a better idea of what's happening right now. The Roaming the Ether event being a retelling of the Aeneid to introduce the Divine Comedy-inspired arc and to give a huge piece of foreshadowing that the Fall of Phaethon hasn't happened yet. It all leads me to believe that the devs are using references to Don Quixote to prepare us for what's going on with Sunbringer and Joyous, and in turn, Belle and Wise. I believe their literary inspiration is The Labors of Persiles and Sigismunda, Cervantes' final masterpiece. I understand that I cannot expect you to have the same knowledge base about this as Don Quixote. I mean, that book completely eclipsed this masterpiece. Let's be real, it's been lost to history. The only thing I could find on it were summaries in Spanish and terrible AI summaries. So I linked a version of it that's free to read below. You could download it or you can read it in the browser. But For TLDR, they're a couple disguised as siblings, and it's following their misadventures and their journey to Rome and getting their freedom back. I cannot tell you how perfect it is to use for inspiration for them, and it would also explain a whole lot of the sus things that are happening in the story. I think it would successfully subvert expectations for Sunbringer and Joyous being counterparts to Belle and Wise. Now, it cannot be a coincidence that they are connected. Like, come on. And to drive this point home even further, I need to tell you about the uncanny similarities that make me believe the writers have this book in their research notes for Sunbringer and Joyous. I think Sunbringer and Sigismunda are counterparts because Sigismunda goes by Auristella for most of the book. With her alias meaning star and Sunbringer, sun, being a star? Oh, come on. Come on, it's a little obvious. But beyond that, we know that their personalities are extremely similar. Like, they're excellent leaders, extremely intelligent, absolute goobers. And they are both beautiful, breathtaking beautiful, more beautiful than the sun, and that is how both of them are described. This also means that it works as a counterpart for Belle. Yikes. We also know that Joyous and Persiles are counterparts because Persiles is described as a joyous young man who is wise beyond his years many times throughout the book, or he describes himself as joyful or joyous. Okay, then his alias is Periandro, or Periander, like Periander of Corinth, one of the 7 sages of Greece. While historians cannot agree on their connection to the Apkulu, we know that Semlison Zero is definitely conflating them. We know that Periander of Corinth was the one to standardize trade routes. Joyous was the one to standardize hollow exploration routes. And we know Joyous and Wise are connected. So I'm getting a little suspicious about what's happening right now. What does all of this mean for Belle and Wise and the main story? Now, if you've been here for a while, you know that I don't think Belle and Wise are their real names. So, okay, this definitely adds to that delusional prediction. But it would also explain, like, everything that we've been very suspicious of in the story. Like, we don't know their last names. We just know that their first names are Belle and Wise, and everyone in the community thinks it's a little weird that everyone in New Eridu knows that their mysterious secret identity is Phaethon. Come on, like, it's too much of an open secret for Belle and Wise not to be another layer of an alias. So, it would fix that. It would also fix the one thing that divides the community the most. It's the biggest point of contention. You're either okay with it or you're not. And this would make it so that everyone could be okay with it. Now, I'm in the boat that is not okay with it, but I have to put those feelings aside for a moment to really look at this objectively. So, if you recall my TLDR of what the book The Trials of Persiles and Sigismunda is about, the entire time they are pretending to be siblings. It's only in the last chapter that they reveal it to the people they've been keeping this a secret from. I think we're the ones getting duped right now. Like, we're the ones who are being misled. The amount of times that they say that they definitely are siblings and they have enough stuff going on that, like, we would reasonably believe. Okay, then explain why the devs keep putting them in situations that make half of the audience's skin crawl. I think it's really, really, really funny if they're not actually siblings, but they have to pretend to be. Now that peak comedy right there. There's so many layers to it, and it would make replaying this game absolutely a delight. It would also resolve almost all of the issues with the things I mentioned before, especially if they do it pretty close to how they do it in the book. So in that, the entire time they're going by the alias Periandro and Auristella. Now, there's another character involved, but I mean, like, he's probably not important in this relating to Zenless Zone Zero. So, but his name is Arnaldo, and he is the Prince of Denmark or whatever. And he loves Aristella. Like, he is head over heels for her, and it doesn't matter how much she doesn't want to be with him. Like, he still does a lot of really kind things for her, and like, even when he gets jealous, he just goes over to Periandro and he's like, brother, help me out. Give me some advice, please. And he does. And they really have a sweet friendship too. But don't worry, in the end, it all works out because the reveal happens and then Arnaldo gets with Aristella's younger sister. Very sweet. The whole story in the end is very sweet. But until then, they're put in painfully awkward and uncomfortable situations that, like, it makes your skin crawl, but like in a different sense. So for me, with this context, we are feeling, like, as an audience who is not okay with it, we are feeling exactly what the characters in the book felt like. And there are a few times where they pull them aside and they're like, you guys aren't really related, right? And then they have to be like, no, we definitely are. And then that's how they get better at making this ruse believable. I want to know what you think about this, because I was very shocked to find that a freaking sword in a building block castle for the Bang Boo led to this. I'm still in disbelief. But also, like, it makes me believe that, again, Belle and Wise are not their real names. That's why we don't know their last names, because if we do, it would reveal too much information. To wrap this up with a neat little bow, I think I need your help. Let me know, do you think that this quote is a reference to the last part of the Faith and Myth? Because I think so, and I think that's why the trials of Persiles and Sigismunda were chosen as an inspirational piece of literature for Zenless Zone Zero. We know that Cervantes makes several references and allusions to classical mythology in his other books, like any good writer of the time. I couldn't find any writing about this while researching, but there's a lot of reasons that I think this line is a reference to the myth. The biggest one is because other writers use this myth in a similarly cautionary way. It would also explain why it's so left field. There's nothing to imply Libya has any weight in the story or Cervantes' life. He was held captive in Algiers for several years, so it could be a reference to that or where he learned about the myth. But I do think it is a moment of poetry in this book written with Hellenistic roots for a very Catholic 1600s Spain, right? Like, he couldn't go against his religion, and there is very little fantasy in this book. All the subtle references to mythology were very subtle and very, very poetic. I could talk about this endlessly, and I don't even like Spanish literature like that. I usually go for older stuff, as you know, but I do know that Spain was obsessed with the sun at this time because I love the fashion. The sun motifs are not subtle, and we all know fashion is a response, not an island. So, let me know what you think. I'm really proud of this theory, and I'm gonna go a step further and say, please, I am so proud of this theory. Share this with your friends. If you know someone who plays Zenless Zone Zero, share this and ask them what they think about this theory, because it's a little crazy. I know it's all over the place, but I really think I figured something out, like a huge, huge plot twist. So, if you haven't already, please hit that like button and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Again, thank you for watching.